Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi Ak. Yesterday a very big news came. The news was that brother, India is going to build up its own bomber. And I want to remind you that Indian Air Force had bomber aircraft at one time. It was known as the English Electric Camera. You know, we had B-57, B-58 at that time, which retired somewhere in 2007. So after this, we did not have a dedicated bomber aircraft. In between we had talked that we will take it from Russia, but Russia has apparently lost some aircraft, so obviously that deal will not go ahead. So what is happening in this big announcement has come from Indian Air Force and basically from government sources along with many others that have come. So Pad Bhai Namaskar, let's discuss.
Namaskar Adi Bhai. So let's put certain things in perspective first, that what is happening now, like post-Operation Sindoor, then only we will know how much relevance this thing has. For example, a recent report has come in which India will also recognize a 150 kilograms and 900 kilometer range missile, which is called loitering. ISR, which is called intelligence surveillance. If needed, it will become a kamikaze drone. So I think this is a project of National Aerospace Limited, National Aerospace Laboratory, in which Solar Ind Industry, which makes Nagastra, was partnered. Then you must have seen, a testing of extended Treasury long-distance hypersonic cruise missile was done. Then the long-range land attack cruise missile, which used to be Nirbhay, was made with indigenous Manik engine. Pinaka is being tested. Pinaka with a range of 300 kilometers is being made. LAT has been designated as a development, production partner for the Ghatak unmanned combat aerial vehicle. So the integration of the Kaveri engine, which is the dry Kaveri without the afterburner, has been done. Work is going on it. The prototype will be a large-scale prototype. Then the private sector is also working a lot on jet-power drones. Then the engine test facility of AMCA's 130 kN engine has been built by GTR. Then there will be an announcement on that very soon as to whom to partner with. I will tell you why I am saying all these things. Then tomorrow or day after tomorrow, an approval of 20,000 crores has been received for Netra Mark II, which means new generation of long-distance long-range AWACS, which will be built for the Indian Air Force. Then space-based surveillance has been fast-tracked. Then there have been many emergency acquisitions. Then by the end of this financial year, clearance will be given for 9 submarines, 3 follow-on Project 75 and 6 Project 75I submarines. Before this, an approval was given by the end of 2024 for 2 more nuclear-powered attack submarines in which LAT is working. Then after that 4 tests have been done by the Aeronautical Development Establishment. They have said that there are 4 tests of submarine-launched cruise missile, which is a derivative of this long-range land attack cruise missile. Then there has been a lot of development on the concept of CATS Warrior, which is being made in the man-on-man teaming. Against all this, there is a news that India is also working on the development of a bomber. This bomber has been in discussion for a long time, so the reality is that India has acquired a lot of capability in long-range missiles. Be it a ballistic missile or a cruise missile, but we do not have a long-range ballistic missile. Our bombing facility capability is deep penetration strike aircraft like Jaguar, Mirage. To a certain extent, obviously, Sufi also has that capability. He definitely, but we do not have a dedicated bomb. There was talk of taking Tu-160 from Russia, but now the Ukraine war has reached such a stage that Russia is saying that it is difficult for them to give anything in completely flyaway condition. Now against that backdrop, there is this announcement that this is not an announcement. There is this report that it is coming up. Well, the timeline that has been kept for this is basically around 2035, when its testing will happen in 2035. Now look at why 2035. If you will see that, for example, if we look at our what is called B-1 Lancer, B-1 B-2 Lancer, B-2 bomber, no I am sorry, B-1 bomber, which is called B-1 Lancer, what engine is used in it? So that is basically what is used as a G engine. It has a G1001 engine. That is used a GF1001 engine. There are 4 engines of that is used in a B1 Lancer. So basically what is called dry thrust development, it is around 300 kilonewton. So, your objective is that the thrust of your long-range bomber, the dry thrust engine, it will be something around 300 kilonewton. On the countryside, if you see, for example, the engine used in Tu-160, its name is Samara NK321, so it also has 4 engines. The dry thrust of each of these is 137 kilonewton. So, it means, it is even bigger. 130*4 means 520, and there is this other one, which you can say that probably one of its, this will be a replica of that, which is Tu-222, the one used in it, that is again a Russian engine called Dobin Road 7M in 2. So its dry thrust is basically 117 kilonewton. I am saying this because the bombers will have a far bigger thrust of the engine, that in your lung, than your happiness. The bomber which is currently used by L-31, roughly it would have something around 250 kilotons of thrust. So, if you are looking for a bomber which will be more powerful than the bomber, then inevitably you are looking for a thrust which is 300 kilotons and above. In this you might be looking for a twin engine. In AMCA, if there is a single engine then it will be a twin engine, something you are looking for. This is what I am thinking, because by 2035, your 1330 kilonewton engine will be ready. So either you are looking for a 130*2 something or 130*4 something. Now what it is, I am saying that this report has come. In principle some development is going on this which is fine. But if your requirement is 10 to 20 bombers, then whether it is feasible to do the entire process of developing something that has to be considered. If your requirement is around 80 to 100 bombers, then only indigenous development will make sense. Because everything is said and done. We are a country which has many priorities. There are many places in your defense also where you have to allocate money. These, as I just said, are very critical areas where allocation is being done. With that allocation, whether you should spend money to develop a bomber which is not a small job, which is not a nominal job, it's a very, very complex process. Will you do that, and whether you would spend more money on creating for better which are called ballistic missile and hypersonic cruise missile? For example, the conflict between Iran and Israel, Iran does not literally have any air capability, meaning, their air force does not have the capability at all, but despite that, the way their hypersonic missiles and ballistic missiles penetrated into Israel, it proved that to a large extent your missile capability can substitute for your air force capability. So, what is happening in India is that there were reports that they are looking for the development of a derivative of Agni, which will have a 7.5 kiloton warhead and that will actually work as a precision strike aircraft, whose margin of error will be low and it will be like deep pay, meaning what is called armor piercing. This news is also coming, work is going on that as well. Now, whether you should focus on that, and whether you should focus on the development of a bomber, where your actual requirement will be not more than one stop. So if your requirement is because our force projection is not across the world like that of the US, like Russia's force projection is across the world, that is not ours. So if your requirement is from 18 to 20, then it is far more feasible, I think, to take it from Russia. There is also talk of collaborating with Russia. To develop a local, means whatever will happen, it is potentially a collaboration with Russia for an Indian version of T-1160 to 160 bomber. Now that is where a decision, I think, it has not gone to the Cabinet Committee of Security. Right now, first something will be made, then there will be acceptance of necessity, there will be clearance from the Defense Acquisition Council, then all the work will be done, then it will go to CCS. When everything will be done, but questions will be asked that if your requirement is 18 to 20, Yes, you can do that because you are already working on a 130 kilowatts engine, which is a good thing. Then, should you look at development of a bomber, where can we potentially use 130*4 engine? 130*4 engine, then it is almost equivalent to a U-160, and if you are looking for a 117 to 110 K2 engine, then it is equivalent to a U-222, and if you look at B1, it uses, meaning dry thrust, 117*4 engine of G, which is like 400 K plus thrust. What should we do? That is a decision that has to be taken as an analyst. We think that if your requirement is limited, whether you should spend money? Yes, you can say that let's have the technology demonstrator with us. At least please, maybe the requirement will be there 20 years, 30 years down the line. But by that time, whether you would have long range? If it's my last, I will just give it to you after that. If it is eventually for development of a long-range unmanned combat aerial vehicle as a bomber, it will still make me think, it will take more sense. But, whether 30 years down the line you would have requirement for bombers, and whether it will ballistic missiles and completely strike drones taking care of the thing that has to be considered back to you. I know, your point is valid. But, I would like to add one thing to it. It is also about development. It doesn't matter, you need to, if you need to spend money in something like this, fair enough. Just spend it. It's not about anything else. Also about creating that ecosystem, development. Creating that, if you are able to make a sized aircraft like that, you can convert it to various different purposes. For example, you can have stealth-based, your X, you can have stealth-based fuelers. So, you can actually develop that capacity in something else, when you can talk on that size. So, yeah, your point is well taken, that a single bomber may not be that feasible, but if you can develop that variant into very different things, if you can metamorphose it into an EVAX, as I said, and a refueler, and whatever, requirements come in the future. For example, one of the biggest requirements coming in the future is what a drone mothership is. So the point is that yes, if you look at it just for the perspective of a bomb, it's not, but from you when you open your perspective when you say that there should be a platform that can perform multiple tasks, for me where it can deploy drones, it can do this, it can do that platform. After that you keep making changes to it because you probably would have to do something modular. I don't know, I am not a scientist and a designer, but that, as a thought process, it does kind of say, if it is being used for multiple purposes, you made a very valid point. What I can understand is that you are saying that, as a platform, it makes sense that we are developing a platform. For example, a very good example of what you said is that if you see, the Tu-95 bomber is propeller-driven. It is also called Tu-142, which India had. It was also used for long-range maritime recognition. The Tu-142 that we had with the Indian Navy was replaced by the Pi Poseidon. Earlier it used to be Tu-142. This was long-range maritime recognition. The same plane that Russia has is called Tu-95, but they have bombing capability. If you are developing a platform which is long-range, which is still powered, which is heavily powered with powerful engines, then it invariably makes sense. I agree with that. But the problem is that at any point of time, every year, you have a certain amount of money which you can use for research and development. Now, how much will you spend on development of the existing facilities? How much will you spend on AMCA? How much will you spend on Tejas Mk2? How much will you spend on TED-BF? How much will you spend on next-generation missiles? And then how much would you have money for this? I am not trying to be a devil's advocate. I am not saying that it should not be done, but I am only saying that its outcome should not be like that of Tejas, that it has been running for 30, 40 years and we keep building it. If it is 2035, then we need to completely, and it makes sense in this because some of the reports that we were seeing were that the government has also in principle decided that our defense spending as a percentage of GDP will be increased substantially. If that is done, if there is money available, then it absolutely makes sense. That's the whole thing, as a concept, to me. Fair enough. It does make some sort of this thing, but it has to be, not reduced in its scope. That's one thing. Secondly, there will be another thing within it. If you are also working on something like this, the main task of a country, which has an area like the Indian Ocean, would be for long-range patrolling. You have things, but going into 2035, patrolling the entity of the Indian Ocean, you will need a platform, which can carry systems which can go far into the ocean. Petrol is okay, with refueling and this and that, and come back after good 6, 8, 9 hours. So, that is also another need that you can have. And you can kind of travel with this, because bombers have been used for reconnaissance a lot. T5 has been used for recce for a long time. You have asked a good question. You have raised an issue. And you will see that a clearance has been given by the Defense Acquisition Council for 15, 2C-295 for Indian Navy and Coast Guard. One will be a multi-mission aircraft. The other is for medium-range mid-time reconnaissance. That same C-295 which Tata is making now. Tata Advanced System probably, and for the Air Force it is used as a medium transport aircraft. So, you have a platform called C-295, which is now being manufactured locally. So I think, this will be for the Air Force. The Abro was a helicopter, a plane, which was brought from Britain, its replacement for 56 or 57, first that is being made for the Indian Air Force. Then 15 more are being made for the Indian Navy and Coast Guard. Maybe tomorrow there will also be a replacement for that will be a standard platform to replace even the N-32 feet of Indian Air Force. Maybe for medium range airborne early warning and control system also in future you would use the S-295. Similarly, in the long-term perspective, if seen, you are absolutely right that we are. If you say that I am developing a jet-powered platform which can be used as a bomber, which can be used as maritime reconnaissance, which can even be used as a mothership, and which can also work as in such system if it is required, so that is a long-term projection, and if it works there is no problem, but if your requirement is only for a bomber, then we have to look
at the development of that thing, as we are talking Indo-French next-gen engine collaboration gates. Ministry thrust. Defense Ministry ne bola hai ki apko do it with Bifren. For your engine, so stuff is moving really fast, and that's the thing. There is a big tremendous movement at this time, so let's see, things look good, let's see how they.
I think this bomber part is going on. This is entirely pivoting around by 2035, you would have the engine ready, whether you do it with Safran or whether you do it with Rolls-Royce. India will have the 130 kiloton engine ready by 2035. Based on that, talks are going on to make this bomber, whatever it is, back to this.
Thank you so much for that update, Padak Bhai. My request to the audience is to like the video, subscribe and share this with your friends and family, and you tell me, the developments are very tremendous. As I have told you in another update that by tomorrow Agni Prithvi your Akash everything is just getting tested left, right and center. So there is a lot of development as well as military concern. We will keep a track and keep updating you. You can contribute towards the channel, so if you can please do it. QR code, PayPal, Super Stick, Super Chats and you can become members. Namaste Jai Hind Jai Bharat.